please.
I was going to ask a very similar question, having read the Quran, and I've always been somewhat confused about the thing of death and what exactly happens when you die, because in parts of the Quran it says you will be judged.
Have you discussed it between you, or it just so happened?
No. And also it says in the Quran that all souls will be judged on the day of judgment.
That's right.
So,
but what
is there
would
a
be
sort
the
of
day of
limbo
judgment?
between our death and the day of judgment?
See, there are many things which have to be understood before I can answer you this question. In the question, there are areas which have to be clarified. The concept of the day of judgment. Is it one single day as we know it here, which begins with the dawn of the sun and the setting of the sun? The dawn of the morning or the setting of the sun? No, it cannot be. There is no sun, no revolving earth, nothing in the hereafter which would fix the times of the day and separate them from the nights thing and so on. So the day here can only refer to a large period, like in relation to the creation. Not only the Bible but also the Holy Quran speaks of days. But the days here do not mean anything but a large period. So that day could last 1 billion years maybe, nobody knows. It can't be conceived as a one single moment in time where billions upon billions people will be dealt with and disposed of. So that is a very naive concept born out of our own limited understandings. So that day, number one, is a vast period of time. The Holy Quran also refers to that day as Azim, a colossal day, so almost endless day. But also, the beginning of questioning or the bringing to account of the dead when they reappear in the otherworldly existence is not something which will take place in a very, very remote future only. It begins to take place immediately after the death. And we have many references to this in the hadith, in the traditions of the Holy Prophet, where in some of them it is said that the moment one dies, the angels of reckoning come and they ask about their conduct in brief. So is there a contradiction between this statement and the concept of a day of judgment? This is the issue. We believe none. We believe that as the soul is delivered from the body, it has a vague consciousness, and right from the start it will be made to realize to the soul that you have done wrong, and from then on it will enter a very, very long period of development in which it will ultimately be completely transformed into another existence. According to the founder of the Ahmadiyya community, Hazrat Masih Maud alayhi wasalam, a soul will be born out of the soul, rendering the soul into a body in comparison. So it's all a relative issue of rarity. If things are too refined in comparison to what they were earlier, they become souls and the earlier phases of existence become bodies. So that is the sort of concept which has been presented by Hazrat Masih Maud wasalam with reference to the Quranic verses. So that day of judgment which you refer to, you find so often mentioned in the Holy Quran, applies to that ultimate phase of development. And that is a sort of rebirth. The Holy Quran explains it scientifically and very clearly by referring to the single birth as it takes place in woman's womb. The Holy Quran says, وَمَا بَعْثُكُمْ وَمَا خَلْقُكُمْ إِلَّا كَنَفْسٍ وَاحِدَةٍ. Neither your first birth, that is your evolutionary creation as man, nor your second birth after death would be anything but like your birth as a single person. Now, what does it mean? What message is delivered? How can the birth of a single person be related to what happened before, extending over 1 billion years or so, and what would happen after? This issue has been further explained by another verse which draws our attention to the fact that things are changing within the uterus, and the embryo is continuously given different shapes. So the Holy Quran draws our attention to this fact. It says, study that. How we change you into different shapes and different forms within the short period of 9 months within the uterus of your mothers. Now, these two verses related resolve the problem for us. What the earlier verse I referred to speaks of is the fact that within the development of the embryo from its early stages to the point when the child is ready to be delivered, the whole history of evolution is repeated and unrolled. If you know that, then you will know that your rebirth will also go through the same stages and the same processes. See, it's a very clear and very scientific explanation of the previous evolutionary processes which led into man, their repetition, very rapid repetition and unrolling within the uterus, and then we are told that something like this is going to happen when you're reborn. So the message is very clear, isn't it? Please.